I'm going to go to you first here, Hawk.
Yeah.
Which team do you think has the advantage? Pretty simple, and why?
Yeah, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, look, if I took just on paper, if I was dropped on the planet Earth today and they said, hey, here's the 2024 season, who has the better chance to win? I would pick the Eagles on paper, but that's not a reality because I have the context of living in the Patrick Mahomes era. And when Patrick Mahomes is on your team, you always have the advantage. The Kansas City Chiefs played in one AFC championship game. Before Patrick Mahomes comes there, he's now played in 7. So you've seen throughout the season and through his career, if the game is tight and it's within one score, Patrick Mahomes will be able to do enough to get them over the hump, so it is hard to pick against them.
How do you argue that, Stephen A?
I can argue it in a variety of ways. Good to see you, Hawk, man. Good to see you.
You too, brother.
Here's the deal, y'all. The Philadelphia Eagles, collectively, you look at them as being the better team. We know they don't have Patrick Mahomes. We understand that's the X factor. We concede that because he's the greatest in the game. But I looked up some numbers, Hawk. Let me throw this at you and Doggy. You do know that according to Pro Football Focus, the Philadelphia Eagles have the #1 offensive line in the National Football League. You have seen that dude, Saquon Barkley, rush for 2,000 yards this season. It's not like we're asking Jalen Hurts to be the one to deliver the goods against Patrick Mahomes, even though he does need to play well, and I believe he will. But I looked up this number right here, guys. Do you know that the Philadelphia Eagles starting offensive line, Doggy, stands an average of 6'6", 338 pounds? Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? I mean, imagine it, but I'm giving you the numbers here. 6'6", 300, and that's the meat and potato brothers right there. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they eat for breakfast. You understand? Steak and potatoes. They eating cows for crying out loud. I mean, this is who they are, right? So we got that going on. That is an average of 26 pounds heavier than their Kansas City Chiefs counterparts. So I'm thinking about Saquon, and I'm thinking about that massive offensive line, and I'm saying to myself, what's the best possible formula you could utilize to neutralize Patrick Mahomes? How about keeping them on the sidelines? Who's capable of doing that? It's Philadelphia Eagles, because you can run the ball on them. And so I look at it from that standpoint, and I say Kansas City has its work cut out for them. We understand that Jalen Hurts could be suspect at times against the blitz. We know that Spagnuolo's going to bring the rain whenever possible. We know what he brings to the table. But Saquon Barkley is that X factor because that offensive line is a huge factor. And that is what I'm looking at with the Eagles. Yes, your scoring defense is #2. Your total defense is #1. Third and third down defense. And fifth in red zone defense. We can't ignore all of that from the Philadelphia Eagles and Vic Fangio's defense. But I'm thinking about their offensive line and the holes they're going to plug and how that's going to work to Philadelphia's advantage. That's where I'm coming from, Doggy.
Well, listen, Steve, you're going to lose money if you bet against Mahomes. I mean, there's a reason why he's won, 17 one-possession games in a row. I think if you're betting against the Chiefs, you're making a mistake. Now, I'm not saying the Philadelphia can't win the game. I understand that. But push comes to shove. Are you going to take Mahomes or are you going to take Hurts? You're going to take Mahomes. When push comes to shove, are you going to take Kellen Moore or are you going to take Steve Spagnuolo, one of the great defensive coordinators of this or any era? You're going to take Spagnuolo, offense, defense. And if push comes to shove, are you taking Sirianni or are you taking Andy Reid? You're taking Reid. So the Chiefs have the advantage at quarterback, at defensive coordinator against the Eagle offense, which means Barkley doesn't go crazy, and as the head coach. And I throw this in the mix, too. You don't think Andy Reid likes beating the Eagles? Laurie threw him out the door with the dishwater. Threw him out.
We
don't want you anymore. He beat him again. And you don't think Andy Reid likes to beat the Eagles? He's a professional.
Let me tell you something.
Flown out the door.
Let me tell you something.
You don't want to beat Laurie?
Yeah, let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something about Doggy, okay? Doggy is an absolute expert at losing money. He loses money all the time. So when he talks to you about you're gonna lose your money betting on Mahomes, well, I would say you're losing money betting with Doggy. You understand? Wherever the direction he's gonna go the opposite. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Go ahead, Hawk.
Well, listen. First off, that blue wide peak lapel suit you got on, Stephen A, is clean as a board of health. That needs to be addressed. #1.
Thank you.
Number
Thank you.
two,
Thank you
I
very much.
like
Yeah,
your
thank you
stat
very much.
about the average size of the offensive line, but if size was all that mattered, the elephant would be the king of the jungle, Stephen A. Okay? Lastly, I'm going to read some stats for you for Patrick Mahomes. He's the only quarterback in NFL history with a winning record when his team is down 10 or more points. That's a ridiculous stat
True.
and shows that he's never out of it.
True.
The max amount of playoff wins Patrick Mahomes could have in his career at this point is 22. He has 17. Ridiculous stat. Now into the Super Bowl. Indoor games in his career, 15-0.
Oh.
So when you have him with no elements, you are seeing the best version of Patrick Mahomes. And lastly, Vic Fangio-led defenses against Patrick Mahomes, 0-8. So, as much as I respect that maybe Doggy isn't the best batter, Doggy, I'm not going to put that on you, Mad Dog. But when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, they could have an advantage at 21 of the 22 positions. But wherever 15 is, his team is the team to beat.
You got me on that last one. I didn't know that Vic Fangio's defense was 0-8 versus Patrick Mahomes. You got me with that one. That's a really, really good one. So, 8-0, right? So I guess listen, there's a first time for everything. A dead clock is right twice a day. I mean, there's a first time for everything, okay? All I'm saying to you is this. Let Patrick Mahomes get down double digits in this game. They ain't coming back. He get down double digits in this one, it's not going to happen. This is the one game. It's not going to happen. Not with that offensive line. I don't see that happening. So, again, can Patrick Mahomes could beat anybody. But you better not give up a cushion like you have in the past. I don't think that's going to work this time.
I just don't see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl where they've been so good giving up double-digit points. But, hey, guess we will see. Doggy, who sees it would be a bigger failure if they lose the Super Bowl? Would it be the Chiefs or the Eagles? What do you think?
I definitely think the Eagles, nobody's going to kill the Chiefs if they lose this game. Well, you're going to, after last year, they won in the overtime when they were in huge trouble. Beat the Eagles 2 years ago when they were in huge trouble. San Francisco down 20-10, fourth quarter. Their first championship in huge trouble. Nobody's going to kill the Chiefs. The three-peat thing is a little overrated anyway. Green Bay did it. We've gone through that 1,000 times in 65, 66, and 67. Two of them were in the Super Bowl. The Eagles, if they lose this game after they lost the Chiefs 2 years ago and they brought Barkley in, that's 2 and 3 years with that fan base. There'd be some hell to pay. I understand. And the Eagles, everybody thinks, you talk to football people, and I'm here, I'm doing it. You talk to football people, they all think the Eagles have the better roster, top to bottom, better defensive line, better offensive line, better weapons on the wide receiver scenario, certainly the better running back. They got Fangio. There's a lot of people who think the Eagles are better, and they're only leaning to Kansas City because of the quarterback and the head coach and the defensive coordinator. I think this is a big game for the Eagles. If they lose this game, there's going to be a lot of people in Philadelphia who thought this was not a successful season. Nobody in Kansas City is going to think that. You're going to lose occasional Super Bowls. So did Brady. Nobody's going to think that in Kansas City. They will think that in Philly. Much more pressure on the Eagles, in my eyes.
Doggy. Listen, I'm so disappointed in you because you're such a historian of the game and all that. And I saw that you brought up the Green Bay Packers from before the merger. We're going to talk about things that the modern NFL, not before the merger. Listen, for me, it's the Kansas City Chiefs because I point to you have an opportunity for a three-peat, something that hasn't been done in NFL history. And what I want to reference is when the Patriots lost in the Super Bowl against the Giants, the 07 Patriots, when they went undefeated in that game. And you ask Teddy Bruschi about that whole game. The fact that they lost that game, they had an opportunity to do something no other team, ever had done. They had an opportunity to go undefeated. And this is the Teddy Bruschi, a guy that's won 3 Super Bowls. But the one thing that sticks out in his mind is that loss to the New York Giants in that situation. And I think it'll be the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. You go out here and you have an opportunity to win a three-peat, do something that no other team has been able to do, and you lose this game. I don't care how many Super Bowls that you win. Any champion that's lost in these type of games, it's always the losses that stick out to you more than the wins in Super Bowls or any championship type game. So for me, it's the Kansas City Chiefs if they lose this game to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Representative Woody, because you look represented. You look like a politician. I'm going to go with Doggy on this one. I'm going to say it's worse. It's a bigger failure for the Eagles for a couple of reasons. Number one, Patrick Mahomes has already proven what he can do. He's already one of the greatest in the world. We understand what greatness he brings to the table, what greatness Andy Reid brings to the table, what greatness Travis Kelce brings to the table. They've been depleted with injuries throughout this season, yet somehow, some way, in one-score games, they've managed to win a whole bunch of them this past season. But they've been knocking on the door of defeat for quite some time. We get all of that. And the Eagles are perceived as being the better team. The only thing that anybody says about the Eagles is that they don't have Patrick Mahomes. But everything else, you look at their defense, they're ranked number one. You look at their offensive line, they're ranked number one. You look at Saquon Barkley, you consider him, I mean, he would have broke the single-season record if they had played him against the New York Giants in the regular season finale instead of finishing with just 2,005 yards. We look everywhere with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we think collectively they're better. But here's the other thing. How many bites at the apple are you going to get if you're the Philadelphia Eagles? If you're Kansas City, you expect to be right here next year. Patrick Mahomes has been the starting quarterback for 7 years. 7 times they've been in the AFC Championship game. 5 times they're going to the Super Bowl. Okay? They've won the division title each and every single year he started. He's beaten Lamar Jackson. He's beaten Josh Allen. And yes, even though he's lost to Joe Burrow, he's also beaten Joe Burrow. Who hasn't he beaten? Whereas when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, we saw them a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl. Then we saw them nosedive, primarily because they lost both coordinators. We look at them this year. There's a lot of people who believe that if the Detroit Lions hadn't suffered so many injuries, having 13 dudes on the injured reserve on the defensive side of the ball alone, the Eagles might not be here right now. We've got Jaden Daniels in Washington. Okay, we see what the Los Angeles Rams are capable of doing with Matthew Stafford. There's no guarantee. You're the Philadelphia Eagles. Nobody has guarantees. Please don't get me wrong. But Patrick Mahomes is as close to a sure thing as it gets in the National Football League. There's no sort of thing with the Philadelphia Eagles. And as a result, the opportunity is here for you. And if you miss it, it might be a long, long time before we ever see this opportunity again for them. I think that's how a lot of people are thinking. And that's why I think the answer to this particular question is the Philadelphia Eagles instead of the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, the way that you and Doggy, are talking about the Philadelphia Eagles is like they're the clear favorites. Last time I checked, the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite team in the Super Bowl. And you know why they're favored?
They're favored
obviously
Patrick
Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, okay, and Steve Spagnuolo. You talk about that trifecta. You got one of the best coaches in NFL history, Andy Reid. Steve Spagnuolo, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame assistant. That's just been instrumental to the Kansas City Chiefs. And so, again, for me, I go back to what are the stakes here? Yes, Patrick Mahomes has won all these Super Bowls, and he's probably going to have a lot more opportunities. But you only have this one opportunity to do something that no other team in history has been able to do, and that's win 3 Super Bowls in a row. And if you go out here and lose this game, again, I'm just telling you from a player's perspective, we tend to think about those type of games, those losses, more than we do the championships that we won. So I'm just putting that out there from a player's perspective and how our psyche and our mindset as far as these games are concerned.
Yeah, I don't like the unbeaten comparison because that was a special thing. Only Miami had ever done it. I don't like that as much because that would have been something that the world would have spoken to for a long time. Half the population who follows football doesn't even know about the Packers in the 60s. So that three-peat to me is a little overrated. They brought Barkley in. To win this game. They didn't bring Barkley in to get to this game. They got to the game 2 years ago with Miles Sanders as the running back. They brought Barkley to win this game. And if they lose to the Chiefs again, and especially you would think in heartbreaking, late, close fashion, those fans in Philadelphia, they don't care that they beat Washington and scored 55 points. They won't care that they were 15 or whatever they were, 14-3. They will not forget that for the second time in 3 years. 2 years ago, they can live with it. 2 years ago, Hurts, nobody thought he'd be that good. They can live with it. Not again. That is going to be, to me, there's much more pressure. What Chief fan is going to say, wow, what a lousy year we lost in the Super Bowl when they've already won 3? They're not going to say anything. The Eagle fan will with this group. Damien, I love you, but I disagree. Stephen A. for a change is right. Much more pressure on the Eagles.
I hate to pile on you, Damien. The reality is the Eagles are just more inconsistent. We were firing the head coach midseason, it felt like this year. Half the world was, at least. They fell off last time they were in the Super Bowl. They lost all their coordinators. They just haven't been tried and true like the Chiefs. So it does feel like it's an opportunity that they can't miss out on this year, and it'll be a downgrade if they don't win.